Hey everyone, sorry about that. Small little technical glitch, but hey, we're here, and I'm excited to get started today on a topic that a lot of people have asked for: why dieting leads to disappointment. You know, it's an amazing thing that every year we have people that want to get healthier. They have every wish, every desire. Everyone looks in the mirror and wants to lose those few pounds or wants to have a healthier lifestyle. And what they do is they start down a path listening to all of the fads, all of the diets, trying this, that, or the other. Most people have tried multiple times. A lot of people, unfortunately, have given up. And the whole idea about this presentation today is to try and educate people on why diets don't work, why they lead to disappointment. So let's kind of jump right in and see what this has to do. We start out with a definition. You know, when you actually read Merriam-Webster's definition of diet, to cause to eat and drink sparingly or according to prescribed rules, that doesn't look appealing. You know, it actually looks somewhat discouraging. It's depressing. That definition is awful. And in fact, one of the things that, somebody else pointed out to me, which I think is telling, is when you look at the word diet, the only thing a lot of people see is die. It's one of those feelings that people feel like, they're going to restrict themselves. They're going to inhibit, the things that they love or they enjoy. It's basically one of those things that you have to do as opposed to something you want to do. I mean, you start out with a terminology that starts out with disappointment. So, let's learn about something else, because this one just is not the way that you necessarily want to start a presentation with something that's that depressing. Let's talk about something called basal metabolic rate. Your BMR is the terminology. What this is if you wake up in the morning and never leave your bed, you don't move, you don't do anything, all you do is sit there. This is the amount of calories that you are going to burn simply by existing. In fact, if you want the calculation, there it is. It's very complicated. It's different for men versus women. Don't ask me how they got there. I have no idea, but that is the calculation that you use to determine your basal metabolic rate. But it's a very important number, because the reality is this. If you are not willing to move, if you are not willing to engage in some type of physical activity, there is a rate at which your body will burn calories. And we all know the formula. You have to have a 3,500 calorie, a number below what you burn in order to lose 1 pound in a week. So, your calculation, when you're calculating all your calories that you've consumed during the week, if you're going to count calories, which don't necessarily recommend, but if that's what you're going to do, you have to have a 3,500 calorie deficit from what you have burned in order to lose 1 pound. And this is how you figure that out if you're not moving. Obviously, if you move, then that number can change. But we're going to talk about why calorie counting isn't necessarily in your best interest in just a second. The other thing I want to point out is this. I use this a lot. I talk about Einstein's definition of insanity all the time. And the reason why I do this is it seems like every January 1st, everyone always has the same goal. They always have that, health and wellness goal. And unfortunately, they always attack it in the same way. They all know exactly what to do. They all know exactly what they're going to do in a gym if they go there. They know exactly what foods they're going to try and eat. They know it's basically we all know what to do, and all of a sudden what we're going to do is we're just going to do that until we can't do it anymore, and then we're going to go back to the way we are. And for some reason, every year we think something's going to change, that somehow that result this time is going to be different than it was in the past. That's insanity, guys. We have to think different. We have to do things differently. Because if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same thing. So the whole idea behind today is to show you why what you think to be true and why you keep doing the things that you've been taught over all of these years and all the things you've read just don't work. So let's start out with a public service announcement. This is something that I want to make sure everyone understands. But more importantly, I want to make sure that ID Life has the voice of reason when it comes to certain aspects of things to protect you from certain companies, industries, or products that could actually be causing more harm than they are good. So let's start out with the first public service announcement. Safe and sustainable weight loss has a maximum rate of roughly 1 to 2 pounds per week. That's it. 1 to 2 pounds per week. Trust me, I was 307 pounds at one point in my life. I did not lose that weight overnight. It was not going to happen. It is something that takes time. It is something that you have to understand that it took a while to get there. It's going to take a while to get to where you want to go. If you get any program or you listen to any late night television or you see some promise of faster results than 1 to 2 pounds per week, at best what you're going to engage in is something that is unsustainable. At worst, it could be dangerous. You need to be very careful if you have any program out there that is offering you anything more than that. So PSA number one, public service announcement number one is 1 to 2 pounds per week is a sustainable amount of weight loss, something you can keep going with, something that is healthy. Anything more than that, a red flag should go up in your head. Number two, there is no such thing as a magic weight loss pill. These things have been shown time and time again to either be useless or dangerous, repeated. But for some reason, the American psyche is that we want to have somebody that comes out with the magic bullet, the magic pill that we can take, keep doing everything that we currently do and that we love to do, and somehow we're going to get a different outcome. The reality is it doesn't exist, guys. If somebody tries to sell you the magic pill or the magic bullet, or they say, hey, take this one pill, do whatever you want, and you're going to lose weight, don't walk away, run away. It just doesn't work. It's not something that is good for you. Trust me, it's been proven time and time again. What you need to do is just walk away. The magic bullet is not something that you want to engage in. So that's number two. Number three, cleanses. We get asked all the time at ID Life, why don't we have a cleanse? The reality is, God created us with a cleansing mechanism. It's called a colon. Works really well when you feed the body the right thing. Artificial cleanses, on the other hand, they may help you lose weight, but that's a temporary result. And it's unsustainable, and at worst, it could be dangerous. There are literally things that have been shown time and time again where ingredients used by companies for cleanses are actually doing more harm than they are good. Just understand that the reason why your body needs to be cleansed out is because we're not feeding the body. We don't have the right diet, lifestyle, and nutrition in our system to begin with. Because if you had the right diet, lifestyle, and nutrition to begin with, the body is designed to have a perfect detox system. It has a perfect cleansing system. It works really, really well. Do not fall into this trap. Don't focus on these things where you take something artificial to cause a natural process. It just makes absolutely no sense. So PSA announcement number three is avoid the cleanses. So those are the three things there. So let's get into dieting. When you look at dieting, you see all of these terms that are associated with it. And all of these things are things that you have to consider, that you have to take into consideration, that you have to think about when you're dieting. And part of that is why these things just simply don't work. And speaking of don't work, 90 to 95% of diets fail. That's the real number right there. So, you're not a failure if you've tried to diet and it didn't work. That's not what you are. That doesn't define you. The reality is 90 to 95% of them don't work. And there's a reason why, and we're gonna learn that today through going through this presentation, but I want to make sure everyone understands when you're choosing to try that quote unquote diet, the chances of success are 5 to 10%. 5 to 10% is it. So why would you go down that path? Second thing you need to know, at any given time in America, 50% of people are trying to lose weight. 50% of people are trying to wait. What does that mean? 150 million people in the U.S. right now, probably more than 150 million people, are on some type of an attempt to lose weight. That's what they want to do. See, the reality is we all have a desire to look and feel better. Just a reality. We all want to look and feel better. Unfortunately, though, this industry has gotten to where they have all of these promises of quick fixes and massive weight losses and little effort to get a great result. You need to be very careful. You need to educate yourself. You need to understand what we're going to go through today and understand the diet cycle and understand these concepts so that when you're making the choices, you understand what is going to work and, more importantly, what isn't going to work. So let's look at this one. 73% of weight loss resolutions are given up on by January 31st. So, you have 150 million people entering January 1 with a New Year's resolution of, I'm going to look and feel better. I'm going to lose some weight. And by January 31, they've given up. In fact, the biggest advantage to most industries, the largest industry with the greatest advantage of that January to January 31st run are gyms. But did you know that 67% of gym memberships are never used? That's right, 67% of gym memberships are never used. Those are people that are paying their $10, $25, $50, $100 a month, but never donning the door of the gym. Why? Because they were told when they started this particular diet that they had to join a gym in order to get the results that they were looking for. So they did. But then when they quit the diet, they didn't quit the gym just in case they ever decided that they wanted to start again. That's just the reality of where we are. And unfortunately, when you say start again, that's exactly what happens because the typical dieter makes 4 attempts per year to lose weight. See, that's why the gym membership stays current. That's why we keep going. That's why 67% of people aren't using it. Because at any given time, people are quitting and starting diets all year long. We call it the yo-yo diet cycle. We have to avoid that. In fact, science has proven that if you do the yo-yo diet cycle, you're actually going to live 3.4 years less on this earth as a result because of all the stress and harm that you're doing to your body in the process. This is just the reality of what diets are doing to us on a yearly basis. Now, where are we spending our money? How are we spending our money on these wonderful diet fads? Well, on artificial sweeteners alone, we spend $2.5 billion a year. This is a way for us to try to reduce our sugar content. We've done a prior presentation where we talked about the artificial sweetener has the same glycemic response as regular sugar. The only difference is when the insulin hits the bloodstream with an artificial sweetener, it doesn't find the sugar. So what it does is it converts anything in the stomach to fat. So I always say when somebody orders the cheeseburger and Diet Coke, in reality what they're ordering is the Diet Coke and love handles. But unfortunately, the dieters, don't know that. They're just told that, hey, you should drink the diet soda because it says the word diet on it. They don't appreciate or understand that molecularly they are actually causing more harm than good. But $2.5 billion every year spent on this. $14 billion was spent last year on weight loss surgeries. $14 billion on weight loss surgeries. These are people that have tried everything and gotten to a point where either medically necessary or because they just feel like this is the only option that they have, that weight loss surgery is their answer. $14 billion spent on weight loss surgeries last year because people literally have gotten to the point where they just medically, have to do something about it. So science has created a way to make that happen. Dieting, heck, we spend $60 billion a year in the U.S. on diets. $60 billion on different type of diet programs and plans and different things in the hopes that we can get a result different than we've gotten in the past. We also spend $100 billion on junk food. That's just the reality of where we are and what we're doing. And we spend $300 billion a year on fast food. When I was putting this presentation together, though, I was curious when I was looking at these numbers of where Americans spend their money and wondering of all of those people that are spending their $60 billion on diets, how many of those are also spending, part of the $100 billion on junk food and the $300 billion on fast food. The problem with these diets is we have the little devil or the angel on our shoulder. It's a constant battle of, what we can do, what we can't do. In fact, the most popular weight loss methods out there, the ones that you see the most, that most people are engaged in on any given time, of the 150 million people, somebody is doing one of these things. One, you have fad diets. These are the things that come and go. Some of them have come and they've stayed. Some of them have folklore attached to them. Some of them have a long-standing history. But the fad diets is a very popular weight loss method. The second, and probably the most popular of all diets ever created, is some type of calorie restriction or reduced calorie diet. That's just the reality of what most people believe dieting is. Eating smaller portions. These are the people that try to reduce their waistline by eating smaller amounts of what they currently eat on a regular basis. You also have the using low calorie or reduced calorie foods and beverages. These are the people that grab the things on the store shelf that say diet, light, fat-free, reduced fat, things like that. In fact, if this is you and you believe that this is actually going to work for you, one of the things you should be paying attention to when you turn the label over is noticing that most of those foods, most of those beverages, most of those things that have those words on that, when you turn them over, they actually have twice the amount of salt and or sugar as the regular version, because when they take something out, they always add those things for flavor. And then, of course, exercising. That's the other big place where people jump for weight loss methods. And the one thing that you need to understand about exercising, I was actually talking to a personal trainer last night, is you will never out-exercise a bad diet. It just can't happen. So many people believe that they can just outwork that bad diet, that they can keep the diet that they currently have, and exercise alone will take care of the issue. It's just not a reality. As I say, if you want a six-pack, you have two choices. You can either do it in the kitchen or you can do it at the grocery store in the alcohol aisle, but those are the only two places you get it. You don't get it in a gym. It's the reality of what people's vision is they think they can just go to a gym and cure all their ills without changing the diet and lifestyle that goes along with it. You have to have the other components to it. So these are the popular methods, but let's look at something. See, when we start down these popular methods of weight loss, we are fighting an extremely powerful tool. It's called our willpower. In fact, when you look at fad diets, usually what happens is they are defining certain foods as good and bad. Now, why does this affect the willpower? Well, because what if one of the bad foods on your fad diet is one of the foods that you love, one of the things you grew up eating, one of the things that grandma used to make for you when you were a kid? Now, does that mean every time you eat that you eat that it's a bad food? Or more importantly, psychologically, you think you're a bad person for eating that bad food? Your willpower is at play there. I mean, it's just one of those things that's non-sustainable. What about calorie restriction? Well, calorie restriction equals hunger. If you're going to, completely eliminate your normal calorie number, what's going to end up happening is you're going to be hungry and your willpower is going to be tested. And then, of course, the other one is the nutritionally deficient diets. Those are the ones that limit you on things that you can eat. Those are things that say, they're going to eliminate complete food categories. That's going to cause cravings. There are certain things in those food categories that you've now eliminated that you like, your body, wants. And in fact, psychologically, you may actually be addicted to. And that creates cravings. And all of this is going to result in willpower. So reality is when we go down these diets, all these, wonderful things that we talk about all the time, we are fighting our willpower constantly. So how good is our willpower? How good can we be? Now remember, 90 to 95% of diets fail. And the main reason is this willpower issue. So let's look at an example. And this is one that's, it's pretty simple. It's actually almost too simple when you talk about sugar, because the example here is a true addiction. In fact, if you look at the stats, sugar, this is an MRI of the brain of somebody who's taken cocaine and somebody who's taken sugar, and you notice that they're the same. You notice that the addiction level is the same. You notice that people have the same addiction. See, the problem that we have with diets is they basically tell you, hey, you have to take these things out of your diet. You have to stop eating these things. These things are bad. But the reality is we are addicted to them. There are programs out there, inpatient programs for people that are addicted to drugs. But unfortunately, we don't identify the addiction to food as just as strong or stronger. It is a reality. In fact, when you look at studies that have been done, you can see that, the food addiction cycle is as strong as just about anything. Now, obviously, heroin has its spikes, but it also has its valleys. Food, though, its addiction over us is crazy. That reward threshold is unreal. And in fact, we're fighting something even stronger when we're talking about the willpower and the addiction to food, especially as it applies to sugar. We're fighting something called the bliss point. See, the food industry, the processed food industry, has literally spent hundreds of millions, billions of dollars finding the bliss point for every food that you buy in a bag, jar, box, and can. That's right. See, what they do is they find the tipping point. They find that point where if they put just this certain amount of sugar in it, this is the most addictive it can possibly be, because if they put just a little bit more, it tips off and falls off the scale. They spend billions of dollars finding what the bliss point is on every one of their fast and convenient foods, so that when you hear a chip crunch from across the room, you can taste it, you can hear it, you automatically want it, and you have a desire for it. And chips are just one example. There's hundreds of examples of this, but the bliss point is a real deal. You need to actually do a little research on it, and you would be amazed at what lengths the processed food industry goes to addict us to their products. So, does America have a willpower over sugar? No. In fact, the average American is consuming 545 calories per day of sugar alone. So if the average American is consuming just under 2,400 calories and over 540 calories of it is sugar, do we have any type of control over this? Is willpower ever going to work? If we start on a diet that says, hey, sugar is bad, and you have to completely eliminate it from your diet, how successful are you going to be? You failed before you began. We are eating on an average 150 pounds of sugar a year, almost 12,000 pounds in a lifetime. This is something that is not going to be affected by our limitation of certain foods and things. So here's the top 5 reasons why diets fail. And you can see in there I put the insanity behind it, but we're going to give you some insane issues. Diets offer a temporary solution to a behavioral problem. See, the problem with most diets is they try to focus on the 40 inches around your waist. The reality is, if you want to truly change your life, if you want to really change your diet and lifestyle, and you want to improve your health, you have to focus on the 6 inches between your ears. That's right. You have to change your behavior. IdeaLife is in the behavior modification business, not the weight loss business. That's not what we do. We don't do body modification. We do behavior modification. We teach people how to change their diet, lifestyle, and nutrition. It's a 3-part system that literally gets people the results that they're looking for from a long-term standpoint. Second reason, they label foods good or bad. The reason why this doesn't work is because now all of a sudden, if you eat the bad food, you're a bad person. It's just not sustainable. It's not something that you should ever think about yourself. Like I said in the very beginning, if you have failed in a diet before, that does not make you a failure. The problem is the diet was designed to help you fail. It was not designed to help you succeed in the first place. You can help yourself succeed by focusing on that 6 inches between your ears. Third reason why they fail. They tell you when and how much to eat. Your body will tell you when and how much to eat if you do it the right way, if you're eating the right foods, if you're making the right choices, and most importantly, as long as you're not restricting yourself into unhealthy habits. It's funny to me when certain diets have you do certain things at certain times of the day in certain amounts and all of these things, because that's not sustainable. It just isn't something that you can do long term. So that's another reason why they fail. Diets trick you into thinking they have a new way to lose weight. I hear this all the time. We have created a universally new way. Revolutionizing something. The reality is losing weight is not rocket science. It really does get down to the amount of calories you burn versus the amount of calories you consume. But what most people don't talk about is it's not a calorie as a calorie. That's actually a misnomer. The reality is the quality of the calorie that you consume versus the quality of the calorie that you burn and how you do it. See, people don't get into that part of the equation, and that's really how you get the results you're looking for. And diets don't address the lifestyle change required to achieve the desired result. See, all they want to do is see if within a 60 to 90 day period they can get you to lose some weight and you think it works. They're not actually trying to get you to change your lifestyle, change your habits, change the things that you have to change so that you don't bounce back to the way that you were. That's why these things fail. So let's look at the typical diet cycle, okay? And I hope that this is going to explain to everyone why the person that has said 1,000 times, well, I did this diet, and not only did I gain all that weight back, but I gained that weight back plus some. So we've established what your BMR is. We know that that's our basal metabolic rate. That's our baseline. That's how much we're going to burn if we don't do anything. So this is where we're starting day one. All right, so we start in day 90. You know what? We've lost some weight, but you notice that BMR baseline came down with us. See, when we start the weight loss program, what we're doing is we're losing fat and we're losing muscle at the same time. So when we're losing fat and we're losing muscle, unfortunately, our metabolism is also slowing down with us. And about 90 days is where most people decide, you know what, I've hit my goal, I'm happy, but now what I'm going to do, because I've only tried to do something that is short term, I've only focused on, you know, the aspect of restriction or calorie restriction or specific foods or eliminating food groups or doing something else crazy that the diet called for me to do. I'm done doing that. I'm going to revert back because I haven't really changed my habits. I'm going to revert back to the way that I was. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start day 1 of my weight gain. Now what's interesting about day 1 of the weight gain is on our way up by day 90, we're right back to where we were from a weight standpoint. But you notice something about that BMR baseline? You notice something about the metabolic rate? You notice something about your metabolism? It's still down. It's still down there where you are or were when you lost the weight. So what happens if we keep eating the way that we started, but yet now all of a sudden we're on our way back up? Well, the metabolism, that BMR, catches back up to us at about day 120, sometimes day 150, depending on what we're doing. So as a result, what happens is we started out someplace, we lost weight, got what we were looking for, we reverted back to our old habits, and unfortunately our metabolism took a while to catch back up to the new habits. And by the time it caught back up, guess what? We had gained that weight back plus some. That's the diet cycle. That's what people enter into on a regular basis. This is why diets don't work. And more importantly, this is why the yo-yo diets actually cause more harm than they do good. It is literally something that is designed biologically to put you into this failure mode. Again, you're not a failure. This is not something that, you know, you were taught. It's not something that anyone really knows. It's funny when we travel around the country and teach people this, that so many people just don't know that this is what happens to them. And they don't understand that this is the battle that they're fighting. So how many people have you heard this from? I've lost the same 30 pounds 3 times. You know, this I hear all the time. I've tried everything. I've lost the same 30 pounds and got it back. But the reality is you haven't. Because see, when you actually look at the numbers, when you were going down, you were losing fat and lean muscle. On your way back up, you were just putting on fat. On your way down, fat and lean muscle. On your way back up, you were just putting on fat. So see, in reality, you're not losing the same 30 pounds. In fact, what's happening is your body fat percentage is going up every time you do this. See, because here's the reality. Muscle in your body, you know, and by the way, if anyone's ever told you muscle weighs more than fat, you know, remember Galileo from school. Galileo is the guy that dropped from the Leaning Tower of Pisa the feathers and the rocks at the same time, and they hit the ground at the same time because they both weighed a pound. You know, we've established that. A pound of muscle is about density. It's about the size of a fist. A pound of fat is the size of 2 fists. That's what you need to remember. But from a calorie burning perspective, that's the most important thing, because a pound of muscle will burn 7 to 10 calories a day. A pound of fat, about 2 to 3 calories a day. So when we get on these yo-yo diets and all we keep doing is putting on the fat and losing the lean muscle, okay, because remember when we go back up, we're just putting on the fat, what we're also doing is reducing our metabolism, our burn rate, our BMR, that rate at which we're going to burn calories if we don't do anything, if we stay inactive. So as a result, what ends up happening, if we keep eating everything that we normally ate before we ever started the program, what happens? We gain weight because our BMR is lower. So see, what we want to do is we really want to focus on putting more muscle on our body. So let's talk about keeping it simple. You know, diets do not have to be complicated. If you really want to diet, you do not have to complicate it. Let's keep it super simple. We want to focus on fat loss, not weight loss. See, this is a visual that you should pay attention to, because the reality is you want to get rid of the thing on the right. You do not want to get rid of the thing on the left. Most diets, when you actually look at them, you are losing lean muscle, water, that's water weight, and fat all at the same time. Now, the problem is you need the water because you need to stay hydrated. You want the lean muscle because that's your fat burner. That's the one that's really going to keep that fire burning. That's the one that keeps the metabolism burning at the highest rate. That's the one that's burning 7 to 10 calories a day for every pound that you have. We don't want to lose the water or the lean muscle. We just want to lose the fat. But so many programs are just focusing on getting you a better number on the scale, not focusing on getting you a better number on your body fat percentage. So that's the thing. We need to focus on fat loss, not weight loss. And those are the kinds of programs we need to be looking for. Because see, here's two people that weigh 175 pounds. If your whole goal was to be 175 pounds and you're 35% body fat, guess what? This is what you're going to look like. But yet, if you're a 20% body fat 175 pounder, that means you have a lot of lean muscle on your body. You look a lot healthier. You look a lot leaner. And more importantly, your metabolism is much higher, which means you can eat more and still burn that off because your basal metabolic rate, your BMR, is higher because of your body fat percentage is so much lower. So remember, we want to focus on fat loss, not weight loss. That's a true measure of health. That's a diet that actually can work. How do your clothes feel? Forget the scale for a second. The scale is a number. It does not define you. It's not who you are. How are your clothes fitting? You know, it's interesting. We have an event coming up at Revolution, and we're going to be announcing a partnership with a company that's actually going to help us get people the information that they need so that they can start focusing on the true measures of health, including, how much muscle they have on their body as opposed to how much they weigh. Because the unfortunate part of the scale is it's a discourager, not an encourager to any type of fat loss goal. Now, this would not be a presentation on dieting unless I gave you an airtight diet. I'm going to give you the top secret diet. Here's the diet guaranteed to work. I know. I've talked about how bad diets are. I've told you how they don't work. I've told you how they calorie restrict and everything else. Well, I'm going to give you a simple one. I'm going to give you the diet that you probably don't want to hear, but most importantly, the diet that will work. That's the one thing about IDLife is we're always going to tell you what you need to hear, not always what you want to hear. And the good news is you come back 18 months, 24 months from now, we'll still be saying the same thing because nutritional science doesn't really change. It really is pretty much founded in how we were created. And as long as you do what is required in that area, you will get the results that you're looking for. So here's the diet. Here's the easy thing to follow. Half your plate should be colorful. Half your plate on every meal should be colorful. The other half, you can have your browns, your tans, your whites, your blacks, your other things that you typically eat on a regular basis. The American cuisine is pretty boring. It really is. If you actually look at what we're eating on a regular basis, the fast foods, the junk foods, and everything else, they're just not very colorful. If half of your plate is fruits and vegetables, the reality is you can have whatever you want on the other half of the plate and you'll be okay. You'll actually be in a much better state than you are currently. Because the reality is this, 74% of Americans do not eat their fruits and vegetables every day. The minimum amount of fruits and vegetables every day. Your body is craving these fruits and vegetables. It was what we were designed to eat. They need these things. So if you'll do this is the easiest diet in the world. You notice I'm not talking about counting calories. I'm not talking about restricting calories. I'm not talking about, eliminating foods. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm literally saying if half your plate is colorful, if half your plate is fruits and vegetables, the other half can be whatever you desire. Watch what that does to your waistline. Watch what it does to your energy. Watch what it does to you overall. That's a lifestyle you can follow. That's a diet that is sustainable and attainable for anyone and everyone. IDLife is all about Healthy Simplified. It's all about trying to give you simple solutions to complex issues. And complex issues only because it's been complicated by a wealth of marketing propaganda and information that makes no sense, designed to put you into a cycle of product usage that doesn't get you the results you're looking for. IDLife is different. We're all about trying to get you real results, trying to really help you and the people that you care about and that you love get the results that they're looking for. In fact, one of the things that we've designed is what we call the IDLife experience. The whole idea behind the experience is to give you the nutrients and the supplements to support healthy lifestyle choices that follow along, kind of the program that we just outlined, the true measure. It's not skipping meals. It's actually understanding that you need electrolyte replenishment in the afternoon and to drink more water to fill your nutritional gaps that you have with ID Nutrition, and most importantly, not to skip out on your sleep. And understand how important that sleep is. And more importantly, to take away the biggest excuse that we have for all three of those, which is time and taste. we take that completely out of the equation because everything tastes great and it takes almost no time. It's 3 simple steps in less than 3 minutes a day. You should really check it out.